Hello, Susan.
Hi, Christopher.
How are you today?
I am good. How
Great.
about you?
I'm doing good. I just got up less than half an hour ago. I got my coffee here, which is is necessary.
Yes. Oh, I am in New York
That's right. Oh, you're in New York, and what are you drinking?
and I'm drinking tea
All right, I've got
because it's
coffee
the
in.
end of the day here.
All right, and I've got coffee here in Japan. I'm in Fukuoka, Japan, southwest Japan. And you're in New York where I was born. I was born in
Yeah, not
yeah.
far away from where you were born, I don't think. I
Right.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, I was
Yeah.
born in White Plains. Where were you born?
Oh, I was born in Norwalk, Connecticut, but I haven't been there in a long time.
I haven't been to White Plains in a while either. So so but they're kind of yeah, they're both interesting. I grew up in Rockland County. Do you know Rockland?
Um, I have a vague idea. I haven't lived in New York that long.
Oh, okay.
I'm just outside, like 20 minutes outside of Albany, where I am.
Okay, which is right near my sister.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, and my sister worked in Albany, lived near there, and you and I met. We've only met in real life once when I was visiting my sister. What was that, 2 years ago?
Yeah, it wasn't last summer, it was the summer before.
Right, right.
Yep.
That was great. Yeah, that's the only time we've met in real life, but we've
Yeah, it's really cool to meet somebody in real life that you meet on Facebook.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. It really is. And you and I have been communicating for when did we start really talking deep? It was last year, right? When we
It's
really
been last summer. Last summer.
last summer. Right.
Actually, it was before the summer. It was before the conference that you had in London.
Ah,
It
before
was
okay.
around that time.
Maybe it was during the time when my mother-in-law was
That too.
ill
Yes.
in our
Yeah.
house. Yeah.
Right.
So my mother-in-law, she's actually behind us. This is the In Japan, we have shrines for people, and this is my mother-in-law's shrine. And you can see over here she's got a whoa, hold on a second. This is a hibiscus flower, and it's not blooming today, but the flower just keeps blooming. It hasn't stopped, and we're
It's her
right.
presence.
It's her present, and we're in January now. Today is January um,
23rd.
23rd
Well,
for you.
23rd here.
I'm in the 24th.
I always get a kick out of that. It always makes me laugh.
Isn't that wild?
It is.
And yet I'm in a different time zone. I'm in a different day. Um, I used to call my parents, so my mother-in-law passed away just last year, and that's when we really were talking a lot. And my parents passed away a few years ago in New York, and I used to always call them as we neared midnight on New Year's because we'd go into the new year and I'd say, it's 2018, and they'd be, no, it's 2017. And so we were in different years. That was always fun. So anyway, we should introduce what it is. We'll get to everything, but we should probably tell anyone who's listening, who's still with us, people that haven't left, what it is that would you introduce the kind of the core theme of what it is we're talking about?
Well, the core theme right now is the magic of the real.
The magic of the real.
And what does that mean? Well,
Ah,
to
yeah.
me, it means that reality, real reality, is pure magic. That life is magic, that earth is magic, that we are magic. And so that's kind of what it means to me.
Mm.
How about
Great.
you?
Well, for me, I mean, I agree with that, and I kind of look at it. I think Thich Nhat Hanh and Einstein both said that everything's a miracle. And
Hmm.
so for me, I'm using the word magic in a similar way as miracle and redefining. Oh, excuse me. Redefining what does miracle mean? What does magic mean? And why would Einstein say everything's a miracle? So and magical. So for me, it's for me, just the bottom line. For me, I love science. I'm just crazy about science, and I also, was an artist. Am an artist,
Am.
and have been meditating since like the 1980s. So spirituality, art, and science have all influenced me. But the magic of the real for me begins for me with the Big Bang. It
Cool.
just, the Big Bang, the fact that, well, not the fact, so according to science, the whole universe, when it began, was smaller than a grain of sand.
A
Well,
single numinous speck, Brian Swim calls it.
Brian's, all right, there you go. Yes, yes. Now, how, if you're going to tell me as science, hard science, that the whole universe was once, smaller than this, well, that's magic.
Hmm.
The universe is there's something that I would call that magic. Even you can call it science, well, then science is magic.
Yes.
That's my starting point. Anyway,
Yeah, that's a great starting point, actually, because
yeah,
that is another thing that Brian Swim always talked about was how if anything had been off just a tiny bit, we wouldn't exist.
right,
That there's a perfect moment in all of this for in this case the universe to come into being.
right,
And if something had been off just a tad bit, we wouldn't even be here.
right, right.
And so yeah, that's pretty magical.
Pretty magical. So that is our theme that we're going to keep coming back to, right? We agreed upon when we're going
Yep.
to do this. And then we had talked about that each one of us might have some topics we definitely want to touch on today. So we hope that for anyone listening, hopefully there's some people out there. We hope to do more of these and we hope to have guests on. We've talked about having friends on, people we know, and but this is the first, one that we're doing. Um, but we had talked about to start off with sharing some topics that we'd like to talk about. So, what are some topics that you'd like us, almost like having a map, we're going on a little trip, and these are the places we want to visit in this conversation. So, what are the couple of the places that you want to visit, the topics you wanted, and I'll share mine.
Well, one of the topics I'd like to visit, because it's kind of informed a lot of things that I've been working on over the past couple of years or more, is the fact that we humans are living within the living body of Earth, just as the cells in our body are living within us. And what are the implications of that? That's one thing. The love, the vibration of love, the frequency of love. That's another thing
Yeah,
because right
yeah.
now I feel that this is like the most powerful thing we can be doing.
Yeah, that's really important. So love and being part of the part of the body of the earth and living within the earth, that would be kind of the deep, I guess the deep ecology, deep time, deep kind of like and also ecological, that's ecological, ecological consciousness, understanding that we're part of the earth and we're like cells in the body of the earth.
Yeah, we are Earth, just like we are also cosmos and galaxies
Right,
and
exactly.
yeah.
That our bodies are made of atoms and
Yeah,
also
we're
we're
we're all of it.
right, we're all of it. So, okay, and then so those are two, love, frequency of love. Are there a couple more or should I
You
well,
go, you go.
okay, I'd like to talk about creative intelligence and what is creativity. And I happen to believe that everyone has incredibly boundless creative intelligence, and you see this in children. But a lot of adults kind of start to lose it. They don't express their creative intelligence. And so I'd like to talk about that, why we don't, and then how to bring it back. How I think people can can tap into their creativity just as we can tap into our love. So it's like
Yeah.
love is a part of who we are and creativity is a part of everyone is like that. And how to transform the whole culture, the whole planet. I think one of those two alone, if you take love and creativity, that's it. We can reshape the world. So that's one thing I want to talk
That's really
about.
all you need, really.
That's all you need.
That and the belief in magic.
And a plan. And a plan. I don't know if you know Walt Whitman said something about when prepare everything when the time is ready, the architects shall appear. It's a quote from
Yeah.
Walt Whitman.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll come back to that one. But uh, I believe that you need a plan. It doesn't just happen. And that's part of what we're in the process of doing, developing plans for this because there hasn't been a plan. People haven't come together. So there's this connection of all of us who believe these things. We have the images and the dreams, but you actually kind of have to map it out, like mapping out a city or mapping out building something. We need to build. It's time to build, no more just dreaming. So
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are already being built though, too. So
yes.
eventually we'll hopefully be bringing in people who are doing some of that building and talking with them.
Well, yes, and yes. And people have been building for the last um, 60 years. In fact, there's another theme I want to talk about is the 60s. What were the 60s all about? And who are we? Who are we, meaning those of us who were born or grew up in the 60s? I was born in 1961. And I grew up in the 70s as a teenager, but I was born in 61. You were born, I don't know if you want to.
52. I grew up in the 60s. I came of age in the 60s.
So you were
Graduated from high school in 70.
you graduated high school. Okay, so you're a child of born in the 50s and so we represent those generations and
Oh yeah.
talking about so like a big thing I want to talk about is a lot of us who grew up in that time we had a vision of recreating the earth and recreating human culture and it didn't happen. Or it did happen. It did happen like okay, like my work, one of the things with my work, I've been in education and we'll get into this later, but what happened in education? In the 1990s, we had incredible innovations happening in public schools in America, and they were all sabotaged and shut down after 2000. So, like you said, a lot of these things have already been built. We already know what to do, and we actually did build it, but there's kind of forces out there that for some reason
Yeah.
keep sabotaging create it's like creativity blockers, love blockers. You know how some people are not happy with their gender, so they take a gender blocker. And it's the same kind of thing. I feel the culture that there's people in powerful places that have blocked creativity, in my opinion, and they've blocked
And
love.
they don't want the kind of change that we need
Right.
because it's not going to benefit them. So, which
Well, they're
is,
not going to make money off of it.
right. And that was like in my past life in the 80s and 90s as a Gaian economic activist. Um, I know that there were and still are a lot of amazing models and examples of local, sustainable, resilient ways that we can recreate economic relationships in our communities and in our regions. And a lot of that um, is still around, but people don't know a lot about it.
Can I ask a quick question? You have a book. What's the title of the book you
Well, I
wrote?
have a couple of books, but the main book, the first one, was called Economics as if the Earth really mattered, and
Okay.
it was published by New Society Publishers in, I believe, 1986, 1985. I could look it up,
Okay.
and
You know what?
it has a foreword with Thomas Berry in it.
Yeah. Oh, Thomas Berry, the great. Sorry, could you move a little to the side? I'll put in right now. There's an image of your book there. I'll
Oh,
do.
cool.
I'll do that later. I'll do that
Okay.
later. I'll start. I'll
You
start
warned
putting.
me that would happen.
Yeah. So I'll start putting in images like that. Okay. Please continue.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that was basically the answer to your question. I did have that book out, and my I wasn't an economist. I don't have a degree in economics or anything else. I did go to UNH, but I didn't graduate. But what I used as the model was the healthy Earth ecosystems and how we must shape our economy based on the Earth systems. And how do we do that? You know,
Right.
what are the values? What are the qualities? What are the processes? What are some of the strategies and ideas that we can use to create that? And we still haven't done it. We
Right.
still need to do it.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question again? You said the foreword was written by
Thomas Berry.
Thomas Berry. Okay, so now you got a picture of Thomas next to you. I'm going to put that in. Could you tell us, so now how does this connect to um, Thomas Berry's work and the universe story, which is part of the magic of the real?
Well, The Universe Story is a book that he co-wrote with Brian Swim.
Right.
And the book that Thomas was working on when I was doing my work when I first met him was his main book called The Dream of the Earth.
Okay.
And one of the things that I know, because just from my whole life as a kid growing up in the White Mountains of New Hampshire and being in the woods and all, is not only is Earth alive, but we have participatory relationships with Earth. We can communicate with Earth on very personal levels. And this is something I carried with me. So when I met Thomas and we were having dinner at a friend's and he was talking about the dream of the Earth, I mentioned something about talking with trees. And he sat there and I can picture him and he like ran one of his hands over his arm like that and he talked about biocellular knowing. He said that is through biocellular knowing. And it was like, for me, it was like, whoa, because then all of a sudden it made sense. It's like my DNA and the tree's DNA, we are connected, we are one. It kind of helped me make the leap to feeling like part of in a way that I hadn't felt before. He helped me feel part of, not separate from. Even though
Mm,
I was having conversations with trees, there was me and tree, right?
mm, mm.
But then there's a little difference there when you're part of. It's like there's a mutuality. There's a singularity almost.
Right, right.
And it's very magical, and it's something that we can experience. We need to experience some of this before we can really grok it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Grocket. So you're bringing in Robert
I'm
Heinlein.
bringing in, yes, I'm bringing them all in right now.
Stranger in a Strange Land. I loved that book. I love that book. I experienced the 60s in the 70s. I read Stranger in a Strange Land in the 70s and that or maybe even the early 80s. The late 70s to early 80s was when I got really into the 60s culture. Grokking. I love it. So um maybe I should put up a definition of the word grok here. I might cover your.
Yeah, I might be aging myself or something.
Well, no, but anyway, uh I had a one thing, one apology to anyone listening. Because we're not young, my memory goes sometimes a lot. So there may be moments where I want to say something and then suddenly it's like, oh, where'd it go? But but
That's really
um
it.
yeah, but I wanted to bring what you were just saying is so amazing, everything and what he said about what was the phrase again? The phrase about
Biocellular knowing.
biocellullar knowing. I love that. That's amazing. But I wanted to th this brings up a very important topic, I feel, which connects everything, which is another topic. Well, the idea of the illusion of separation, that
Mm.
separation of is an illusion. Actually, everything is connected in the universe. everything is connected in so many ways. I mean,
Yep.
so we're connected at a cellular level and spiritual level and the atoms of our body and the cells, and it's like the amount of connection is just off the charts, but most people don't think about that and don't that so it's a kind of an illusion, and I think a lot of our um problems come from that illusion, delusion, that believing that all things are separate when actually everything's connected.
Yeah, not only is it everything is connected, but everything is a part of everything else.
Yeah, yeah.
It's more than just connection. It like
Interbeing, you're saying interbeing.
yeah,
Thich Nhat Hanh.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and that's where Thich Nhat Hanh is basically saying, I mean, it's really science. And it's also spirituality,
Right.
and and it's also art. Yeah,
And
we're
it's
all
all magic.
yeah. And it's all magic, and you can have different definitions of what you call magic. Yeah. Yeah, wonderful. And oh, our friend Chantal, we did you and I and Alexander Laszlo, and a few friends, we did a video.
I remember
Actually,
that. Yes.
yeah, that was actually in 2021. And Chantal, I went back and listened to it but yesterday. And Chantal was talking about how we're moving from this phase where there's kind of unconscious disconnection. And then we've moved into consciously disconnected. And then the phase that we're moving forward into is conscious connection.
So
So it's
kind of
almost like, what's that?
going forward, but also at the same time
Yeah.
remembering.
Remembering what has always been in truth.
Right.
So we've always been connected, um, people to each other. We're connected to nature. We're connected to the universe, but we became disconnected because of the culture and the technologies and the politics and the uh, institutions of the culture, which is what the '60s was about, right? The
I was
'60s,
just going to say the 60s was about undoing that. And we
exactly.
are one and love
Right.
and there was
Right.
some things that screwed it up, but
Right, right. What screwed it up in your opinion? I have my opinion about where did the '60s go wrong? Is that okay to talk? It just popped
well,
into
I
my head.
mean, just I think drugs had a lot to do with it.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And then I mean, I didn't make it to Hate Street until I was in my 30s. I was considered vintage at that time.
But yeah, oh, could you
But
just a
but
question? You almost went to tell the story about you didn't go to Woodstock, but
no, I
what
didn't go to
happened?
Woodstock.
But you could what happened? That's a was
Well,
it
I didn't because my parents wouldn't let me go to Woodstock. I was not old enough. I wasn't 18 yet, and it was my senior. it's the summer between junior and senior year.
wow.
And some friends of mine went, but so I could have technically had a ride,
And
but
you wanted to go.
oh yeah, yeah.
Oh my.
Honestly though, I don't know if I would have been able to handle it because we don't know. Probably it would have been great, but it turned out to be quite the event. But
Oh yeah.
nobody knew that it was just
Right.
like this amazing, amazing thing that happened, and I was like, oh, if only I had been there.
Right. We were talking a few days ago that uh, I finally went to Woodstock, I told you, and you were like,
Oh, you finally went. Okay.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
thinking, because you said you went and I'm like, wait a minute. If I was 18, you went to Woodstock, you were eight? That's really,
yes.
really committed.
No, no. What I meant was, so I had grown up in Rockland County, New York, and um and so I knew about it, and my mom got the album. So my mom really got into, I grew up in the '70s. My mother was an artist. She started painting, and she's the first person I ever saw meditate. I still remember seeing my mom meditate at our local. My parents are Unitarian Universalists, and I remember seeing my mom meditate, and then she started getting into the the whole the culture, and she got Joe Cocker, Mad Dogs and Englishmen, Joe Cocker, um, what's the one? Little Help from My Friends, the Beatles, Yellow Submarine, and Woodstock. And
Wow.
and they were cranking that stuff up. My mom was cranking that stuff up in the house in 69, 70, 71, 72. So I was getting the music right there, you know. But I didn't get to Woodstock until a friend of mine actually played there at Bethel Woods. I didn't know that Bethel Woods was Woodstock. So,
Oh,
yeah, so I'd been
that's what you were referring to. I was
yes,
still trying to figure that one out.
yeah. So I'd been to the city of Woodstock. I've been there with friends to the city of Woodstock, but I didn't realize that Bethel, I didn't know where the actual, where was Yasgur's farm? I didn't know where it was. And I'd heard people talk about Bethel Woods concerts, but I didn't know that Bethel Woods was Yasgur Farm, was Woodstock
Hmm.
until my friend Eric, Eric Lawrence, he's a musician, a saxophone player, and he played with the Levon Helm band,
Oh,
Levon
yeah.
Helm. So he played, he was in Levon Helm's band for while his Levon's last 10 years. And Eric was on Dave Letterman's show once. He said Dave Letterman's studio is really cold. That's I remember that. So anyway, he was invited to join Phil Lesh and the Grateful Phil Lesh playing Grateful Dead songs at Bethel Woods, and he got tickets for me and my friend Lloyd, and we went to Bethel Woods, and it was a, and so it was my first time, and it was like that was magical. That was magical. And the next night, I went back. I was staying with my friend Ken, and I went back and actually Ken and Lloyd and I were with other friends. We had stayed at Woodstock the night before, but anyway, I went back. I was like, "Oh my God, it was amazing!" We saw them. I was at the Woodstock location finally, And then Ken's like, and I said, "And tomorrow night Santana's playing," and Ken's like, "Santana? We gotta go." And yeah, he goes on his phone and he gets tickets to Santana. And the next night we drive up with Ken and his partner Diane and his son Brad, and we saw Santana. So I had 2 nights in a row. That was mystical. That was like probably, for a Muslim going to Mecca, that's what it was like for me. So sorry,
Well, that's cool.
that was a long story. But yeah, so that's when I went to Woodstock, like 2022 or something, or it was after
When I made
COVID.
it to hate, I made it to the hate.
Oh wow, great.
But it was not at the time because I was too young. I was at the very end of that. But I was there for it was a meeting of the Social Investment Forum or something having to do with my catalyst and my work at that time. And we were staying in San Francisco, this colleague of mine and I, and we decided that we were going to go to the Haight and we were going to find a place to stay in the Haight. And we actually stayed in Sunny Sunchild's place, which is on the Haight. And she was like right at the helm of the Haight Ashbury scene back in the day. And I don't know if her B&B is still operating or not, but it was when we were there. And I was given a room with a teddy bear theme.
Ah,
It was full of teddy bears. And one of the and like right at the foot of the bed, looking up at the on the wall was this little plaque that said, "Wherever you are, there, wherever you go, there you are."
yes.
And I was dressed in my, because I always dress like a hippie, even now. And so I was dressed the way I was dressed, and this guy Larry and I are walking down the Hay, and I'm looking at all of these stores, and they're selling vintage clothing, which is the clothing that I have in my in my closet. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm
Did you
not
just
old
see
enough to be
balloons?
vintage yet.
Did you see balloons just go
I
up?
did. Who did the balloons?
I didn't. You must have said some word and it triggered something with the
How
AI.
do I know that? I don't know that.
I
That's
have don't know
really
what word
strange.
you said, but next time we say it again, I guess the
Well,
balloons.
we'll listen to this and it was something about Haight Ashbury and something about
Yeah,
Sunny
something.
Sunchild. I
We'll
don't know what it
figure it
was.
out. We'll figure it out. It was meant to happen. So, can I ask you a question? So,
Yeah.
you're talking about the hate, and as you know, as everyone knows, Bob Weir of the Grateful Dead just passed away like 2 weeks ago. And
Hmm.
and the Grateful Dead were, they lived on the hate. And we had been talking about the meaning of the musicians and the Grateful Dead. What are your thoughts on that from about that now? Now, I mean, what is the significance of that of our generation now? What's going on now?
One of the things that I feel, at least I shared in common with my high school friends that I was closest to, as well as the people that I met in my life when I started my what I call my work in the world, is that and where most of us were like a little bit older than I am, so that generation, we all kind of have this feeling, this knowing that we were here for a reason. And one of the reasons is to bring about the world, that world of love and peace.
Right.
Love, peace, flowers, all that
Mm.
really awesome, energy that we were about. And it was on the surface. We were young. Um, and easily, in some cases led astray, in other cases distracted. We were young. But we're still here now. I mean, some of us are not here anymore. People are passing and moving on to the next dimension, but they're still here. Our
Mm.
beloved dead are all here with us. That's another topic.
Yeah.
But I feel that we feel a sense of purpose
Yeah.
around building, creating, ushering in the Aquarian age.
Right.
The dawning of the age of Aquarius, which is where
Right.
we are actually right now in time.
Right. Right. We actually just entered into it just recently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
know that I had my ideas, oh, when the age of Aquarius comes, it's going to be all this wonderful stuff. Well, not necessarily, at
Right.
least not at first.
Right.
It's a process.
Well, it's almost, and I think it's that you've said this before that, and a lot, and I've heard others say it too, is think sometimes you have to work through the gunk, or you have to bring up things that need transformation, and you got to bring them to the surface to see them. That's what I feel, and I
I
think.
feel always, not sometimes, always.
Yeah, yeah. And I think a big for me, like a big recognition is that some of that darkness, some of those dark forces and things, they actually can provide fuel if we transform them. So in some ways, in fact, I feel that like what seems to be toxic, what seems to be chaos, what seems to be horrible can become fuel for transformation. Just like in the world, people defecate uh, cow shit. Cow shit is fertilizer, and just don't get it in your mouth. That's the problem. We're not
Right.
supposed to swallow it. Don't swallow the bullshit. Don't swallow the bullshit, but
Literally.
don't swallow bullshit, but use it for transformation. That bullshit will actually help you transform. I think that don't swallow the
Well, you were
bullshit.
you were talking about something. Actually, it's an idea that you've been formulating for a while that has to do with this cycle that you're talking about right now,
Right.
the creative intelligence and that kind of thing,
Right. Right. Well, yeah. So that's the whole thing about the
which is another subject. I didn't mean
another.
to,
Well,
derail anything, but it just
no,
felt like, you
everything's
know,
connected.
right.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so that's the topic of the cycles. And you and I have actually we both have this interest in systems thinking and system science, which connects to Gaian science that you were talking about in Thomas Berry's Story of the Universe. and they're all connected. It's kind of it's almost like a new science, a new cosmology that is kind of emerging now, I think, and has been
Oh yeah.
yeah, and it's been emerging, and deep ecology, deep time, and that's where the story of the universe, and yeah, and then the thing that I find interesting that we were just talking about is so I'm very much into system science and systems thinking, and I teach that in my classes here in Japan. I've been teaching it and been interested in it since the 80s. But what I find interesting is that the deeper I get into it, I feel there's almost like there's three key dimensions to the universe or to reality. There's this real, and maybe I'm going to say three, but it's probably 1,000.
Millions.
But
I'm only joking.
but at least there's three that if we people understand that, it will help them understand reality. And the first is systems, that everything's a system. And I'm moving a bit to the side. Hopefully I'll fit it in here, my system science drawing. Everything in the universe is a system. And those systems are connected. So connection, all those systems are connected. And understanding that, I find my students here in Japan, they're amazed by that because people didn't teach them that in school. That's, one of the problems with school. Everyone should know that everything's a system and everything's connected. And that just blows, again, my students here in Japan, they're just, oh yeah, they can see it right away. I just need a couple of pictures. So everything's a system, everything's connected. And and then the next thing is those systems move in cycles, which is what you were talking about.
Yeah.
There's cycles of creation or generation and then regeneration. Everything regenerates, which is there's a whole regenerative cultures movement and our friend Daniel Christian Wall and regenerative cultures. And then there's degeneration. And that's the one that I think a lot of people haven't that's where we need to grasp better how that works because that's where you transform things. That's the alchemy. That's the transformation. That's where the caterpillar transforms into a butterfly. It's the science of of recycling and
Well, it's
taking
where the
apart.
poop gets turned into fertilizer. And
Right.
then life can sprout and grow.
Exactly. And those are the cycles of nature. And then the third one is actually a topic that you had said you wanted to talk about is fields.
Yes.
Fields are really the third important element, and understanding systems, cycles, and fields. And is that taught in schools? No.
No,
And
yeah.
and
And we're not
even
talking about strawberry fields forever. We're talking about energetic fields.
well, we're talking about a lot of, I think everything's a field. I
Yeah,
think yeah, but strawberry fields, um, it could be
which is a field.
it could be strawberry fields forever was hinting towards
I
this.
was actually, when I opened my mouth and I said that, I'm thinking, how do you know, Susan? You better go back and listen to that again.
Yeah, you gotta listen. Well, and I was mentioning the Grateful Dead. One of my favorite Grateful Dead songs is Ripple, and I sent you a version of that where I think it's Bob Weir is singing Ripple, and I've been listening to this version. I hadn't listened to it, and there's a line in Ripple, it ripples in still water where there is no pebble tossed or wind to blow. And for me, I've always felt that's kind of talking about the fields. So for example, love. When love
Mhm.
like right now, if someone is listening or we're talking to each other and we say, you're so amazing and I'm so grateful and your heart opens and my heart opens and someone's listening and they're feeling grateful for being a child of the 60s, that's a ripple in still water, right? With no
Yeah,
pebble toss. That's a ripple of the field.
yeah. And another way, not another way, another story around fields is, for example, everything living and everything is living, in my opinion. That's my belief, my inner knowing. Um, every living being has an energetic field, and it extends from us and goes all around us. And then every other living being that's out there also has the same field that it's extending from them and all around them. So I remember writing in one of my pieces, like, imagine you're walking in the woods and the mosses and the ferns and the trees. And in the sanctuary that's just down the road from where I live, there 2 years in a row, we found a wild beehive, a wild honey beehive in the trees, and the bees were flying. And each one of those bees has an incredible frequency of fields around it. So if you are walking in the woods, and you're imagining, because our imaginations are really important tools. You are imagining your field and the trees field and the mosses and the fungi and the worms and the salamander, all of it. And they're all emanating these fields, and we're being influenced by and influencing in return all these living beings within the woods. I mean, that to me is mind-blowingly amazing.
I agree. And there's an artist who I think has done some of the best depictions of that. And I forgot his name, but did you order his painting? Do you actually,
Is this one of his works?
um,
This is a magnet.
that may be one of his works. And there's other ones with like fields emanating from animals and fields
Oh,
emanating
yes.
from people. Yes. Okay. So yes, 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 yes. He's great. He's
And this
amazing.
is the
And
bear.
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, the bear. Right. So that's what you're talking about, and I think he's done the best work.
Yeah, and
Um,
this woods.
oh, you've got him right
This
next to
is just
you.
like the old growth, you
Oh
know? If
God.
you've ever been an old
Yeah.
growth, you'll
Yeah.
know this. Yeah.
Now, so he's amazing. And well, you know what? Right now, I'm gonna have his name up there and maybe a photo of him. Later, I'll have to do that later. And
Yeah.
sorry for forgetting his name. He's amazing. So and but that gets us into creativity, creative intelligence. And I've been, I don't know a lot of I learned about the NASA. You know about the NASA study with creativity?
I'm not sure which one are you talking about?
So the scientists at NASA, they were trying to find
Oh, is
creative.
this the children thing?
Yes,
Yes. Yeah.
yes.
There was an article, and I was going to share it with you. It was in the September, October issue of Spirituality and Health, and it was about that study. It was
Okay,
how all children are born creative geniuses.
right,
And
right.
by the time they graduate from high school, only a tiny percentage are still creative geniuses. What are
Right.
we doing to people?
Exactly. Well, that's why I said blockers. So modern standardized education is a creativity blocker. It actually blocks and suppresses the development of natural creativity. And that's what I believe. And that's what
And it's on purpose. I swear to God, it's on
it's
purpose
very much on purpose.
because
It's
they
very
don't
not,
want us thinking too creatively.
they don't want the kids
And I
thinking
don't want to get
creatively.
too serious on this or anything, but honestly, they don't.
No, not only do they not want us thinking creatively, they want everyone to feel off balance and out of to lose their confidence and to constantly be looking around and comparing ourselves to the kid.
Yeah,
That they teach you to compare yourself. Oh, he got an A, I got a B, I got a C. I mean, this is the thing that is sinister. I'm sorry. I think it's sinister that
yeah,
you have a system set up that basically tells children that 50% of you are below average. What the fuck?
right.
What the whole system? And then, so anyone who's above the 50%, they all feel a sense of, okay, at least I'm in the top
Well, and
50%.
then if you're in the top 5%, whoa.
Oh, yes. Well, yeah. I'm the elite, you know?
Right.
Uh, I I always, and this is why I'm interested in creativity, creative intelligence, and multiple intelligences, Howard Gardner's theory, where some people, there's a lot of discussion and disagreement about Gardner's theory of MI theory, multiple intelligences. And CI for me is being able to bring all of these together and constantly creative intelligences. And Gardner doesn't mention CI. So like I'm on this kick. I think everyone should know what CI is.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. Yes.
Yeah, because everyone knows AI, and but no one knows what CI is, and everyone should because it's something that we all have. And
Right. And it's something that we would be behooved, is that the correct use of the word?
I think so.
If we paid more attention to it rather than to the AI right now. So
Yeah,
that the AI is just the tool and the creative intelligence, the CI is what's running the show.
exactly.
Our creative intelligence is running the
Our
show.
creative intelligence, which, and this is the really cool part that connects back to the beginning, the magic of the real, that creative intelligence is the intelligence of nature. We are
Yeah.
nature. So this
Mhm.
creative intelligence transcends being human. And what about the whole universe? I,
Right. We're the universe too.
we're
I
the
mean,
universe too.
that is really mind-blowing.
Right. And is the universe creative? And does the universe have creative intelligence? I just did a video on that because it's a question, because people are going to disagree.
I think my answer is yes. I think that I can't speak for Brian. Luckily, he's still alive, so maybe we can get him to speak for himself
Oh,
sometime.
maybe we'll get him here on our
But
show.
but I think he I think
Send
that
him
he would
this.
probably agree
Yeah.
that it would
And,
be that the universe that there is this intelligence there, the creative intelligence. Yeah.
and
And it's all words, it's all language, it's all how we create meaning.
right,
So what we call what you and I are calling a creative intelligence, we know what we're talking about. Um, and the intelligence of the universe, like Brian Swim talks about how love is the creative force of the universe, and and it's how the universe came into being.
right,
But he's
right,
not talking about romantic love.
right,
He's talking about the attractive force.
right,
He's
right.
talking about, um, the ultimate, how it filters down through the whole dimensions of consciousness. You know, yeah, it would be really cool to have him come in and he could
That,
use his own words rather than me trying to interpret them for him.
that's cool. And
We're
if
so
you,
arrogant to think that we have to know everything
we have
and
to
that
know,
what we know is the be all end all because we
right,
we knew a lot of stuff in the 1800s too.
right,
But a lot of it was wrong.
right. And
So,
And right, exactly. And so that's why I like the term source, because it's like source means where did the universe come from? And it's unknown.
right.
And it could be what people think of as God or Allah. It could be Tao. The Tao is not a goddish power, it's more an energy. It could be kind of the quantum field.
It could be the
Is
frequency of love.
the frequency of love or the quantum field. The quantum field
Yes.
connects everything. When you talked about field, when in that artwork that we were looking at, I was thinking of the quantum field, and maybe that's what. Uh, actually, I have a theory, and I don't think I'm the first. I think others have said this, but my belief is that in the quantum field are codes for the universe, and it's like DNA. And
Hmm.
and that's how the universe that for me would explain how did it start like this big and then become everything. And for me, the best explanation is there was a coding in the quantum field that set out kind of how everything went forward. Now, this doesn't mean that there is not a God. If someone believes in God, well, you could say God created the code, okay? But it's that code that then the universe became energy, and then the energy turned into atoms, and then the atoms became galaxies and suns and solar systems. All of these things were, and this is the universe story, right? This
Yes.
was this was going to happen as soon as that first second where it emerged. All of that was kind of destined, just like when our mother and father came together and the sperm and egg came together and the DNA
And
were,
then here we are.
and here we are. That now who we are, like who I am as Chris and who you are as Susan, we create that life, but this biology was kind of destined from that first once the you know the cell started to grow. It was we were going to look like this to some
Yeah,
extent.
and I feel that talking about us as biology at this point in time is really important because it
Yeah,
brings us into Earth in a very real that we can feel way.
yeah.
We're not like walking on the surface. We are part of, because of our biology, our biocellular, like Thomas Berry was saying, our biocellular knowing, our biology. Our bodies are what connects us to earth, to redwood, to cypress, to all of it.
Mm, 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 mm,
And
mm,
that's our biology.
mm,
We're
mm.
more than our biology, but
Right.
we are also our biology. Our biology is part of who we are. We've put ourselves into it, I'm here in this.
And we've created this. If you believe that we are source, that we are in truth, our truest identity is each one of us is kind of a cell of source, a cell of the universe. We, the universe, we, nature, created all of this. We created
Mhm.
these forms and structures, and how much of it was kind of in the coding from the beginning. We can't know. That's a
We won't
mystery.
know.
Yeah, we don't.
We could say all of it because it was all in that single numinous speck,
Right.
all of it,
But I think there was a
which
lot
is
of
interesting. But yeah,
I think there's a lot of creativity, and this is where,
yeah,
a lot of people, it's like people think it's this or that, but a lot of reality is paradoxical. I think there was certain things were in the cards, like there was going to be suns and planets, and the planets need energy from their star, and then on the planet you need water, and then the water starts to cool down, you get an atmosphere, and now biological life can appear. I think
mhm.
all of that was in the coding. And then after that, how much
Well,
that
that's
happened.
like how our bodies formed in the womb, in a way. It was
Right, right,
all
right, right,
part of
right.
that DNA
Part of that DNA
that became
coding.
us. Yeah,
But then once we're born, which path does your life take? There's all this creativity. There's all this
yeah,
unknown. There's this unpredictability of where your life is going to go. And freedom. There's great freedom and creativity.
right.
So it's a mix. It's not like things are predestined and things um wow, almost been going for a while here.
Yeah,
Um,
I was noticing. I was looking up at the top there. It's been
yeah,
almost an hour and a half. Yeah.
yeah, maybe we should wrap it up because we'll keep
Mhm.
going. We're gonna have more of these, and oh God, this has been great. These topics are so interesting. Can we? I have a request. Maybe we talk about frequency and love, and then end on that because that's so important. You and I have been talking about.
Yeah, well, I think lending on frequency and love is a good place to end today.
Yeah, yeah. So your thoughts?
Well, I feel that the most important thing we can do right now is ground ourselves in our hearts and be there. Make our decisions from the heart, make our choices and our life, whatever, from the heart, because that's the vibration that is going to transform. That is the vibration that is going to bring beauty and joy and peace. And that's what we really need right now. And I feel that there's real power in that. And there's real power in us doing it together. Um, so I guess that's all I have to say. Those are my final words about that for tonight.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you. And this does connect us back to the 60s because think about the 60s. They started off with, Great Hope with JFK, and then he was
Mhm.
shot, murdered in front of, everyone. And then moving forward, the Vietnam War and Martin Luther King, wonderful. Martin Luther King's vision. I mean, it's like, oh my God, JFK and Martin Luther King, and you had the rise of the ecology movement, Silent Spring, and then, but all this terrible stuff happened. And yet the 60s rose up. People listened to their hearts. They danced and started creating a new culture. And the fearlessness of the 60s generation, I think that's what we need to bring back, which connects with what you said. Because you can't vibrate in fear and love. Oh, the construction started, so we're definitely ending soon. But you can't vibrate in fear and love at the same time, and so and that's science. The
That is
parasite,
absolutely true too. You
yeah,
can't.
you can't. And so we have to make a choice. And and I think that's what we have to go back and the last thing I want to say about elders. You and I talked about this. I realized the other day that I'm a young elder. I'm come 64. I sang that song when I was in the UK. I had my birthday in the UK last summer. But, when I'm 64, we're now the elders. We're
Yes.
the elders, and and we are the guardians too. This connects. We'll talk about this next time about the guardian.
Next time, the
Next
Guardians. Yeah,
time.
I actually
We're
I have it on.
You have the guardians. The
Yeah.
guardians. Susan makes oil. Oh, commercial message for Susan.
Yeah.
No,
Make natural perfumes and anointing oils.
she
Yes.
makes natural perfumes and anointing oils that are like people. I haven't smelled them yet. I'm going to smell it next
You
summer.
will. I
I
can't wait to
will.
put the little
I
bottles
can't
in.
I
So,
can't wait for it too to smell them. And now that's your creativity. And you
mm.
make these oils and they come to you in your mind. You start to get an idea, and then boom, you're creating this oil, and that's your creativity in that
And
one.
with the Guardians, the trees came to me and they helped me. So it's like a
Right.
multi-species project.
Multi-species project, and we are the guardians, we are the elders. And
Yes.
everybody of the 60s, everyone from the 60s who knows that, who's known that since you were young, like you and I both, we felt that we're part of changing the world. But it's not like standing up in front of people alone. It's like all of us. The changing the world happens when million of us are moving together, activated by that love, that dance,
Right.
that joy, and passing that on to the youth, talking to young people, and they love it. Young people are so inspired when they meet an elder who's wise and fearless.
Hmm.
That lion heart, that
Yeah.
that mama bear or papa bear that is fearless but loving, teddy bears. Anyway, could you sign us off and say goodbye to everybody? You give the final words, and then I will end this, and I'll have to add all those images in.
I was just thinking of the Grace Slick. And when she came out with one of her albums, her albums, her solo albums, and there was a line in one of her songs that was one of my favorite songs for a long time. And the end of it is like, I still believe in magic and I still believe in dreams. And I still do. And I think that we still do.
Yeah,
So that's for me, that's what this is all about. It's like bringing that back into every day.
into everyday life, magic of the
Yeah.
real, that
Yes.
everything and
And love.
and love. Well, and you said something. You sent me a message right before we started. Just one sentence. What was that again? I loved that. That
Oh,
was great. What
oh
was it
God, what was
that you
it?
sent me? Should I get my
Wh-
phone out here?
Maybe you should. It's something
Um,
about we are who we are. You better do it because
I'll find it here. This is what Susan
it's the
Susan
last thing I
the
said to
last
you.
thing she sent. We are we were always who we are at the core.
Yes. I
Uh,
just thought that we were always who we are. I was remembering who I was back when
we
I
were
was
always
16.
who we are at the core. I just love that. And so I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. We were supposed to. That's like doing someone doing a guitar solo for 8 minutes. Stop already. Last word, you're gonna go, and I really, yeah.
I don't have any more last words.
All right.
I'm last worded out. I
Well,
think this has been wonderful, and I really hope that people like it so we get to do it over and over again
I hope so too. We will. Will. And
with other people to join us. That will be
other
fun.
other voices so that I stop talking so much. I'm sorry.
That isn't
I'm
what
a
I said.
I'm a teacher. I'm a teacher. I get up
I
there
know. And that
and
teacher comes out, but that's a good thing. It's, I mean, not the talking all the time, but the teacher thing. Being a teacher is a good thing. And I recognize when that part of you is coming out. And I
yeah,
go,
and
ah, he's
and I
in teacher mode
apologize. I
now.
apologize to everyone else who recognized that part of me coming out. But listening, gosh, being a teacher, how
But I'm
to
a crazy hippie, so that comes out too. So,
yeah.
I
Well,
can't help that. And it's always been there and it'll always be there. We are always who we are.
well, and me too, and me too. You know, yeah.
Yeah, and you're
Susan,
even younger than I am, so it's pretty amazing that you
well,
are as cool as you are.
well, hey, same for you, Susan. You're very cool for 70s. Oh, my wife got Spotify, and Spotify, you listen at the end of the year, they tell you about your listening tastes. And then they said, your listening age is, this is the first year I saw it, but your listening age is 75. So musically, I'm 75 years old.
Musically, you're older than I am.
Yeah. I listen to mostly, like predominantly music made between 1966 and 1978. And the new music I listen to are covers. I listen
Of
cover
that.
songs. So
Yeah.
like I have this mix of I'm listening now to Pink Floyd songs that are covers. I love when women cover like what the men did because often they do it so much better. Um, anyway, hey, love you. Thank
Love
you.
you too.
This was great. This is great. Frequency of love. Peace, everybody. See you again.
Peace.
Okay, I'm gonna press.
Ah,
Oh,
there's the
peace.
balloons.
Is it the word peace? Peace.
Was it this?
I don't know.
Ah,
You you something. You triggered something. I have no idea. Do it.
peace?
We'll figure it out.
Weird. That's
The-
really weird.
That is
The
really
AI
weird.
balloons.
The AI balloons. All right, I'm gonna end it here.